All right, let's get right to it. If you're leading a global company today, I'll bet your biggest risks and, yeah, your greatest opportunities are hiding in plain sight. Where? On your global capability map. So I have to ask, that map you're using, the one that's guiding these huge multi-billion-dollar decisions about talent, innovation, and growth, is it built for today's world? Or is it stuck in yesterday? Because let's be honest, the old playbook, the one that was all about chasing the lowest cost, that game is over. It's obsolete. The game today is totally different. It's about speed, it's about innovation, it's about embedding real high-value capability right into the heart of your business. We're in a global race for skills, plain and simple. And here's the kicker. The smartest companies are figuring out that the center of gravity for this whole new game, well, it's shifted, and it's probably not where you think it is. Okay, so let's talk about this global capability race. When you look at where the top companies are placing their bets for their global capability centers, or GCCs, a few key players always pop up. You've got Poland, right? A real nearshore powerhouse for Europe, pumping out nearly 500,000 STEM grads a year. It's a solid, established choice. Then there's Singapore. It's Asia's premium command center. The infrastructure is incredible, but it comes at a pretty significant cost. And of course, the Philippines, a longtime leader in business process management, famous for its high English proficiency for customer-facing roles. But then you see this number, 3.5 million STEM graduates every single year. Look, this isn't just a little bit more. This is a complete game changer, a fundamental shift in the global talent pool. This is the scale of India. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting. Just look at the data with me for a second. Poland, great talent, but it's getting pricey. Singapore, super innovative, but wow, it's expensive, and the scale just isn't there. The Philippines is cost-effective, sure, but it's not really geared for deep tech. And then you have India. It's really the only one that hits this sweet spot of massive scale, a huge cost advantage, and now really aggressive government policies pushing for innovation. And that brings us right to India's unmatched edge. It's time we all move past that old idea of India as just a place to save money. We've got to see it for what it is now, a new frontier for actual capability. I mean, the numbers are just staggering. Right now, India has over half of all global capability centers on the planet. Just let that sink in for a moment. One country, 50% of the entire global market. This isn't some emerging trend anymore. This is just how global business works now. And look, yes, the cost advantage is still a big deal. And we're not just talking salaries here. The total cost to operate in India is still a good 30 to 40% lower than places like Eastern Europe. But think about what that means. That's not just savings for the bottom line. That's fuel you can pump right back into R&D and innovation. Okay, enough with the data for a second. Let's talk about a real-world example. There's this major European automotive giant, and their story just perfectly captures this pivot we're talking about. So they had this big 1,000-person center in Krakow, Poland. It was doing exactly what you'd expect. Finance, HR, classic back office stuff. But then they needed to build their future. We're talking EV and AI engineering, and they just couldn't find the talent they needed at scale in Europe. So where did they go? They went to Gujarat, India to build their new global R&D backbone. And just look what happened in only 2 years. They hired 700 top-tier engineers for 35% less cost. They filed 2 critical patents in AI for battery diagnostics, partly funded by local incentives, by the way. Their India center went from being an idea on paper to being their global R&D hub for core EV parts. So here's the takeaway. Poland was still their back office, their compliance hub, but India became their innovation engine. Okay, so you see this huge opportunity, but let's be real. India is complex, and it's changing fast. So how do you navigate all that? You need more than just some high-level report. You need real, on-the-ground insight. Which brings us to the big question for any leader. How do you take this massive opportunity and turn it into a real competitive advantage for your company? How do you make the right moves with confidence? And that's really where this idea of India Insight comes in. Think of it as your strategic compass. It's the core idea we explore in our new series. This right here is just a taste of our new podcast of the same name. It's built specifically for you, for CXOs and decision makers at the top global companies. Our whole mission is to decode India's rise. Everything from what's happening in emerging new cities to the policies that are completely reshaping the game. And here's our promise to you. We cut through the noise. We translate all that complexity into clear, actionable insight. This is just a glimpse of the kind of data, stories, and expert talks you'll find in the full podcast, all to give you the clarity you need to act with real conviction. Because, in this environment, sitting on the sidelines, that's a liability. It's time to act, and to act with confidence. Your next big global advantage is right there, waiting. So if you want these kinds of insights delivered to you regularly, it's easy. Just open up whatever you use, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, and search for India Inside, the GCC Advantage. Hit that subscribe button and join the conversation with other global leaders who are shaping what's next. So leave you with this one last thought. In this race for global capability, really understanding India's new role, it's not just another box to check on a strategy doc anymore. It is your next global advantage. India Inside, the GCC Advantage. We really hope you'll join us for the conversation.